Is it going? It's going. It's going.
You're up. We're good.
All right.
Okay. Have a good session, people.
Fantastic. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming to Wabash B today to talk with us about instant articles, AMP, and Apple News. I'm Stephanie Murray with the Center for Cooperative Media at Montclair State University in New Jersey. We are in Northern Jersey, and we run, we're a grant-funded program, Basic School Communication and Media, and we run a bunch of programs that help independent, hyperlocal, nonprofit publishers in New Jersey and across the country. And so I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. So you're here today. Let me make sure this works. Maybe it's not going to work. Yeah, I'm connected. Let's see where it goes. Well, maybe we won't have any slides today. There we go. Cool. Thank you, Marty. So as I mentioned, I'm the Center for Cooperative Media. Also, I'd like to introduce Marty Halo, who is an adjunct professor at Montclair State. So I'm going to talk to you today about what local publishers need to know about IA, AMP, and Apple News in terms of how they work generally and some business considerations you might have. Marty's going to talk about technically how it works. And then Howard Owens from the Batavian is here as well. So Howard has Apple News set up on his site and is here to talk specifically about that. And I walked around and talked to everyone I could in the room beforehand to try to get an idea, thank you, for who we've worked with. And it looks, I think just about everyone in the room we have not worked with before. So we're doing this presentation today because over the last 12 months now, we've been doing a Knight Foundation funded project that helps INN and line organizations specifically better use social media. And so IA and AMP and Apple News has been part of that. So we've been helping local news organizations get set up on these platforms and test them. That's why we're here doing this today. And so I was glad to see that lots of folks in the room, you haven't been exposed to this program before. So just a little bit about that project that I mentioned. So this is a Knight Foundation funded program. Its actual title is like Social Media for Local News Initiative. We've been coordinating it. We're offering it to members of INN, Lion, the Detroit Journalism Cooperative, and the New Jersey News Commons, which is our flagship program at the Center for Cooperative Media. So the program is 18 months and it ends technically in December, although I have some additional support from Facebook so we can continue it next year. We've offered through the program training in Google and Facebook. So Ned Burke, who just walked into the back of the room, who is doing sessions this afternoon on Facebook Fundamentals and Google Fundamentals. We've been doing those over the last year. And so we'll tell you more about that and how we can continue to help you and support you in those areas. We've done training around paid social marketing as well, and we're going to continue to do that. All sorts of different opportunities for you. And you can find all of that, and I'll have this up at the very end at collaborativejournalism.org/social media. So if you go to collaborativejournalism.org/social media, that is where everything that's available to you lives right now. So collaborative journalism is something that my center studies as well. This project is kind of a side project for us. Most of what we do is work focused around collaborative journalism. So I also just put in a plug to visit collaborativejournalism.org so you can learn a little bit more about our work there.
Make sure the camera's pointing.
All right, so just going to go over some basics. Some of this stuff you may know already, but I just want to set a baseline for everybody. So when you're using these platforms, Instant Articles, AMP, and Apple News, you are essentially putting your content into a third-party system. So naturally, you're going to lose some control. Setting up on these systems, they're all using WordPress plugins. All three of these have WordPress plugins. There are other ways that you can connect, but I know many Lion publishers are on WordPress. Who in the room here is on WordPress? Good, good. Is anybody not on WordPress? I guess I should have asked that. So two. So what systems are you on, Michelle?
It's called Content Engine. It's a homegrown.
Content Engine.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what site do you use?
We've rolled out. It's just.
You've got a proprietary. Yep.
Expression Engine.
Expression Engine.
Drupal.
Drupal. Okay. Cool. So custom, the proprietary sites. If you've got developers, you can build connections pretty easily to all three of these. If you've got someone who understands how to do that, you know, they have APIs you can do that with. Some of the others that are not proprietary systems, they like Drupal and others, they do have, there are some plugins and there are there are integrations that are already built for you to be able to do this. We're mostly today going to talk about WordPress when we talk about the technical side of it, just so everyone's aware of that. So why are people trying this and testing this? So overall, overall on a high level, you might be interested in using one of these platforms because, first of all three of them, your content loads fast. And I'm sure you've experienced this. When you tap on something that's in AMP or an article that's in Instant Articles, the content loads fast. They're very clean interfaces. The designs are very similar. You can choose different designs within the plugins as you set up, but they're all very similar. So they're beautiful. They look nice. Many of us who have sites that maybe we're already dealing with slow load times or different ad issues that we have on our site, using these platforms helps take care of some of that for us, and it makes the experience great for users. Additionally, there is statistics that show that there's higher engagement and more views. A caveat with that, however, is that, those numbers are always changing. It depends on who you look at to get that data. A year ago, Chartbeat put out information saying that it was showing that Google AMP pages, for example, were providing like up to 100% boost for search traffic for some sites. They came out with numbers earlier this year that showed a little bit of a lower boost from Google for AMP pages. Facebook will tell you that most when there are pages in Instant Articles that people spend more time on them and they're more likely to go into other content. But I'll tell you just honestly that it totally depends on your content. It really depends on your publication. Top line, those trends are absolutely true, but it's just all going to depend really on what you are putting on the platform, to be honest with you. And that's what we've seen through testing with different sites. Some sites get into platforms, see great bumps. Others, it doesn't make a difference, just to be totally transparent. So our recommendation is to test. That's why we're here today. I think it's a great idea for everyone to consider these different platforms and test them. And we usually talk about testing for at least 6 months. We can talk more about that. So I'm going to go through Facebook, we're going to go through AMP, and then Apple. And then we're going to just ask questions. But stop me at any time and ask any questions that you have. So for Facebook, some key things to know. So remember that Facebook Instant Articles are within the Facebook app only. So it's not going to be if someone's on a Safari browser, on an Apple or another browser on any other sort of smartphone and go to your site. They're not going to hit Instant Articles, only if they're in the app. So that's important to know because sometimes folks forget that. You can connect, when you're in Facebook Instant Articles, you connect it via the plugin. You can connect your own Google Analytics, and you can connect your own ads. There are various ad platforms that connect to Facebook. Many of us I know are using formerly DFB, now Google Ads Manager, and you can connect that so that your ads are served into the Facebook platform.
Can I ask a very baseline question?
Yes.
This is all brand new.
Yes.
How, as a Facebook user, how am I seeing this article?
So,
like, see the context for what we're talking about.
So what is good? So what a Facebook Instant Article looks like? When you're in the Facebook app, you're scrolling through your news feed. You'll see an article. Let's say you see an article from NewsHawk that you want to read, or Berkeley Side, in California ones. You tap on it. The difference you'll notice between an Instant Article and not an Instant Article is, first of all, the Instant Article will load almost instantly.
Okay.
And the design is cleaner, so you're not going to see a web address at the top of the bar. It's just going to load within the app.
Okay.
If it's not an Instant Article, it's going to look like it's kind of like a little pop-up. And there's an X in the corner, and you can see the web address usually loading at the top of the page.
Redirecting to the actual
Redirecting to the actual site, and it loads a little slower. Some sites load really slow. It depends on your back end at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, yeah. So no, absolutely. So when you put your content in IA, what it's doing essentially is it's grabbing your content from kind of an RSS feed through the plugin, and it's caching it in Facebook. So that way, that's why it can serve up really fast because it's serving up from a cache.
Okay. Thank
you.
you.
I'm probably totally butchering some of this, so developers in the room, like, stop me if I'm using the wrong terminology.
It worked for me.
I get it. One thing that's important about Facebook that a lot of people test with Instant Articles are because of the call to action units, CTAs, call to action units. So Facebook offers a few different CTAs that you can put in your Instant Articles. Most publishers that I know we've worked with test with instant articles for 2 reasons. 1, because they're fast and they're clean, and 2, because they can collect email addresses. And I'm sure we all know how important it is to collect email addresses from our readers to get them into our audience funnel and hopefully eventually convert them into loyal paying customers. The email collection is a little tricky, though. I'll get to that in just a second. The other thing about Facebook IA that's good to know is that you can turn it off fairly easily. You can go into your Facebook publishing tools and with a couple of clicks, it's off. You don't have it anymore. That's one thing to know. So a couple other points just of concern to think about. So the email integration is manual or via the API. There are not a lot of integrations built to connect into your email systems currently. Constant Contact, MailChimp, those. Some of the publishers we've worked with use Zapier to automate the process or have used the API and developed a hook that way. This is critical because, as we know, as soon as you get an email address, you got to follow up with that person right away. You got to get a welcome email in their inbox within 24 hours, or they probably won't forget about you. And some of the testing we've done has shown that this has been an issue. That's something to know about the email. There are some limits on the numbers of ads and the size of the ads. If you've got lots of banner ads on your site, they're not going to translate into IA. They have to be certain sizes, and they can only be so many words. So if you've got ads every 80 words, you will lose impressions in IA. I think it's 250. Every 250 words is the lowest you can go.
I keep it pretty simple for article ads. You know, we got one banner ad at the top, sell for the most, and then one in the middle, and then one at the bottom for like a category, sponsors.
Yeah.
So, would that translate to this?
It should. It depends on how long your articles are.
Okay. A lot of them are short.
Short. So you could potentially lose some ad impressions.
Okay.
That's where it's important to test.
Okay.
Considering that you're looking at just traffic from Facebook, just in the Facebook app, the number of impressions you're going to lose is probably fairly small.
Okay.
But I would test that and pay attention to that. Yeah, it's every 250 words is the least dense that you can go.
And you can pick and choose what articles you want to be instant?
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's a manual process. I think you can filter it by categories.
If you're in publishing tools, you can delete articles that.
Yeah, you can do article by article, I know, for
Okay.
sure.
So I might want to keep instant articles for longer stuff.
You could also create a custom RSS feed, like if you only wanted to feed sport stories into IA and nothing else. You could create a custom like that.
Excuse me,
No, there's no ignorant questions here. It took me a year to understand this.
one of the reasons I came here was more out of fear than wanting to learn. I guess my fear is this: is for short-term retention.
Yeah.
Aren't we cutting the small guys? Aren't we cutting our throats for? Aren't we going to lose long-term autonomy? Because as we continue to try to integrate and get attention and instant articles and all this other stuff, in the end, isn't the whole purpose of the Internet of Everything is that we're going to end up just working for the big guys, and we'll lose all autonomy in the long run?
That's a whole other session. but you bring up a good question. So it goes back to the why should I try this at all? Because of that question. Am I just giving away? And my answer to that, from the testing that we've done and the publishers we've worked with over the past 12 months, that there are a couple reasons why I would recommend that people test this. One is that you are putting your content within another environment. So you are going to lose some control. But you are not turning your content over to the other platform. And there are things that are built in that can help you grow your business. And I think for the long term, that's going to be more beneficial than just saying, well, these people came directly to my website. Because if part of what you're trying to do is grow a loyal customer base of people who are going to pay for your news, you want to build a connection with them. And frankly, those people aren't going to understand. Most readers don't understand when they're looking at your stories, if it's really on your website or in instant articles. They know it's your content, your logo on it, and your voice. And you have their email address, and you are in their Facebook newsfeed. The platform they see, users don't quite think about it the way that we do. It makes sense. That's also why I recommend test it. You might get more traffic and you might be able to collect some of those
I feel like we're invited to the table today, but in 4 years we're going to be on the table with the apple in our mouth.
Yeah.
It's like he's a writer or something.
Yeah. So let's come back to that. Keep going. Yeah.
My site does extremely well with Google and Orderboard traffic.
You have AMP.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But I haven't done Facebook Instant Articles.
Yeah.
The fact that I do very well with AMP, that suggests this definitely with time.
Well, when people ask, what should I do? I always say, if you're going to do one of these three, do AMP. Do AMP first.
Right.
Absolutely. For reasons we'll get to in a second. So from the testing that we've done, that's the right track. So it depends. Like, how fast is your site? Is it slow? Is it heavy? Do you have a ton of ads? Do you need some of the CTAs, like the email addresses? If the answer to those three is, my site's kind of slow, I don't have a ton of ads, and yeah, I could use email addresses, I would test with IA. But like I said, I would try to test it, make sure you're doing it for 6 months, pay attention to your numbers, look at what you're doing, and then make a decision. I wouldn't turn it on and set forget it, unless, we've worked with a couple of nonprofit sites specifically that don't have ads at all, and don't have that concern, and so they have set up IA, and they don't even, they use an email CTA, and that's about it, and that's been smooth for them. I have other live publishers who have a lot of ad traffic, and IA doesn't work for them because of that. It just depends. Okay. Yeah, Christine.
Beginner question. Are people inputting the email addresses, or are you sucking them from their Facebook accounts, and then what do you do with those?
There's a little bit of a suck involved, I guess. That's a good way to put it. So when you open the article in Facebook, because Facebook, so what's your name, sir? Yeah. It's kind of to Tony's overlord point. When you open the article, your email address is already in there. So whatever email address you use to access Facebook, Facebook autofills into those forms. So all the users have to do is hit submit. So they open up your article and they're like, oh, I love Manchester Ink Link. Yes. All they have to say is yes. Boom, and they're signed up. There's no inputting their name, there's no typing their email address twice, there's no creating a password, there's none of that. It's just a yes, done, and now you have their email address. That's the ease of it, and that's where they get it from. But what we've seen is, sorry Marty, I'm totally taking up, biting into your technical time.
No.
2 things that we've seen with that is, one, because the hook to get those emails out of Facebook is still manual or via the API, there's not a bunch of integrations like they have with Analytics or Ad Manager. If you don't have it automated and it takes you time to get the emails into your system and then get them a welcome email and get those people into your funnel, you lose them. Also, we've seen a couple sites who have acquired a lot of people email through IA, and they do get an email out in front of them right away and they never convert. The Texas Tribune had this problem. They acquired thousands of emails through IA, and they're really excited about that. But what Amanda found early on was that those people who came from IA were not opening the newsletter. And our theory is that because it's so easy, click, that people do it kind of mindlessly, and they forget maybe they did it, and there's not a lot, they don't have to invest a lot, so maybe that was why they weren't engaged.
I have a theory on that.
Sarah,
It
yeah.
might be because they're I know my Facebook email is super old. I don't check
Good
that
point.
account anymore.
Yes.
And so a lot of people don't update their Facebook email, or they don't want Facebook notifications, and so
Yep.
they're throwing it
Yeah.
Mine's still
That's a
from
good
college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use a different email.
Yes. That's a great point too. Yep.
Like the stories archived, the instant articles, or the archives, somewhere part of what we do is try to be
That's a good question.
the publication of record for our community.
Yeah.
So we can go back to an archived story if something happened and then something else happens. You want to link out to this previous story. What happens to the stories and instant articles, and when you archive them somehow?
Yeah, so what Marty's going to show in just a second, we'll move there, is a little bit, we'll run through quick how to set it up. Sorry. So when you update content, it will update instant articles because of the plugin, which we can talk about. When you remove content, if someone clicks on that article in Facebook, the question is, I don't know how long it stays in the IA cache. It's not archived anywhere where you can access it. It's only accessible within the Facebook app. But if you change the content, it's going to change. there's a lag time that it will change. If that makes sense. So this content is not it's not being archived in the traditional sense of the word. How I think we're thinking about it anywhere else.
Cool.
Textbook,
Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
I've had to move a bunch of times in my life, and I hate moving, but I love going to find new stuff in the new apartment, right? Love finding great deals, and like on the bar or things in my apartment, there's a thing that comes in the box that says some assembly may be required. That always freaks me out because I don't know, like how will I be able to put this together? We're just going to show you some technical things today, not to get very technical with you, but just to show you what the setup looks like, so you guys can decide whether if this is something that we can help you with or you can do it yourself. For Facebook Instant Articles, there's a Publishing Tools tab on your page. Publishing Tools gives you access to like the complete Instant Articles database. The only thing that you need to hook up your site is a simple content ID code. And this either goes into the plugin or to the header of your site so that your site can link up to it. There are a few plugins that do Facebook Instant Articles, but the one we like to use is called Native Articles. It's actually not the official Facebook plugin, it's a third-party plugin, but we found this plugin is the most easily out of the box to set up your site for Instant Articles. I know this is very small over here, but what this is a picture of the Google Analytics dashboard, and all you need to do to set up Google Analytics for Instant Articles is to just enter in your tracking ID. It's literally that simple. When we serve stories to Instant Articles, they get served in two ways. Most commonly, once your site is linked up to Instant Articles, if you share a story on Facebook or somebody shares a story that you publish on Facebook, it'll automatically go into your Instant Articles publishing queue. The first time it sees that story, it scrapes it, meaning like it sees what's on the story and it puts it in cache so that it serves it up really quickly. We found that there's been some issues with news publishers as they update their stories, meaning like you publish a story and then you quickly update it. That story doesn't get reaffirmed into Facebook's Instant Article queue unless you like re-scrape the data. So the most common way that we've been helping publishers keep their stories up to date is using an RSS feed. And I know when you think RSS feed, you think it sounds super technical. This plugin generates a brand new RSS feed for you that serves up Instant Articles in a really, really clean way. And all it does is it gives you a URL that you can copy and just paste into the Instant Articles dashboard, and now all of your articles are being served up to Instant Articles, and it'll go like every 10 minutes and see if you've updated any stories. And
Every 10 minutes about?
Yeah, probably 10, 20 minutes, and it'll go and it'll automatically update those stories and stuff.
So it's a custom RSS feed.
Yeah, it's a custom RSS feed generated by the plugin. But what it tries to do is it tries to just clean up any things that are in the theme that are muddying up the RSS feed and just give it like a clean RSS feed with featured image, body content.
But doesn't WordPress do that automatically in your main RSS feed?
It does. Sometimes when we're working with developers and stuff, sometimes developers like to do things that aren't in WordPress best practice. They like to Frankenstein their stuff together. And we run into issues because the WordPress default RSS feed gets altered. And when Instant Articles goes to read it, it kind of gets a little funky. So,
but if you don't do anything to your basic RSS feed, you can use that.
Correct. You can use your basic everyday RSS feed. And if you want to pull, if you want to set up like a category, like Instant Articles category, you can just have your simple RSS feed just pull a singular category. But if for some reason there's a problem, the plugin will generate a new RSS feed for you. Yes.
You said it only pulls the header image and the body text. Does it not include in-article photos?
Yeah, it includes in-article photos. It includes captions for photos. Sometimes one of the biggest problems that we run into is as theme developers, sometimes the publisher would be like, I want to choose a picture to be at the top of my story that's not my featured image. So what the developer do, they will hide the featured image at the top of all the stories, and then the publisher, as they're creating the stories, will put an image at the top of the story.
That often happens like when you want a teaser image, like on your home page and a different photo on your article page. That's often where we see that.
So when the RSS feed sees it, it doesn't see it as a hidden image. It's going to duplicate the images and stuff. So there is some customizing to do if there's customization done to your themes and stuff. Serving up ads. Let's go back one more. Sorry about that. There are a few ways that we can serve up ads straight through the Instant Article plugin. Who uses BroadStreet here? Great. BroadStreet gives us a URL that creates an iframe for us, and all the URL does is the very end of the URL, it just grabs the zone ID of your ads, and you can just insert that in there and it will generate the ads for you. Sometimes we like to use a specific zone ID just for Instant Articles, because that ad zone has to be 300 by 250. Or around those dimensions, a square dimension. But you can also use Google Ads, and there is a custom tab that you can enter in any type of ad you want to serve. This is highly technical. You can just copy and paste this in there. The only thing you would be changing is your zone ID for Google here. We found this works pretty good. And then here is the BroadStreet link. So again, it's just a link. All we care about is the zone ID of your BroadStreet ad zone. That's it, yeah. Yep. Does anybody have any questions on that?
They're all fairly similar to this, so we'll run through the other ones.
Cool.
So where does this interface from the very beginning? Is it inside Facebook?
So it would be in two places. One would be Facebook, where all the Instant Articles are stored, but then the plugin gets installed in your WordPress dashboard. And you can access all of the settings that generate the code to send to Facebook in your WordPress dashboard.
If you're not using WordPress.
If you're not using WordPress, there are other plugins out there for like other systems like Drupal and Joomla and stuff like that. But if you have a custom CMS, the best way to do it is to either have that developer just do a custom RSS feed for you that would serve up the articles clean to Instant Articles.
Yeah. The only issue with that is when they update their articles, is it going to pull?
Yes.
If the RSS feed updates.
Yes.
If they are, that's, yeah, what I'm saying that. Yeah, sometimes that's been an issue. Okay, so we'll do AMP. And it's called AMP, not Google AMP. I made that mistake recently a couple times. Google did launch AMP originally. They were one of the main pushers of AMP. But AMP is an open source project, so you can find more out at ampproject.org. So it stands for Accelerated Mobile Pages. Essentially, it translates your content into a very light HTML page that loads really quick. It is great, especially for places that have low connectivity. Rural areas, other parts of the world, AMP pages can load in places where your content might not be able to load otherwise. Google does give a boost in search to AMP pages. You can see an AMP page by the little like lightning bolt in the circle. So if you go to Google right now, just Google something, look at news content, anything you see that's got that little lightning bolt next to it is an AMP. It's an AMP page. And AMP is an open source project, whereas Facebook Instant Articles is Facebook owns that. AMP is an open source project, and there are many different parties who have been feeding into AMP. So it's not just a accelerated mobile pages are not just owned by Google. If that makes sense. So a few key points to know about AMP. So if you've got some Frankenstein use this code or some highly customized widgets, some of that code is not going to work. Like we said, what happens is, and we can probably get a better technical description from Ryan right in the back. Essentially what happens is taking your content and making it a lighter version of HTML. So if you've got like some AI, some data visualizations, some highly detailed maps, you may know that some of that stuff may not translate to AMP or may not translate easily to AMP. Is there anything else that I'm missing on that or they should know at that point?
I'd say a couple things. One is AMP isn't.
Well, this is Ryan from Google, by the way. I'm sorry I didn't introduce you guys.
Right.
Greg, I'm sorry, Greg.
AMP is not a direct ranking symbol. AMP is not a direct ranking symbol in and of itself. Page speed is.
Oh, okay.
But as far as like some of the widgets in custom code, that's probably fair. The AMP project is ever evolving. There's constant development and releases. So they're moving more and more towards feature parity. Like now you have more even e-commerce sites. But if you have a complex, customized site with a lot of custom JavaScript, you might run.
Most sites here don't, but that could be an issue that you know about. Yeah, that's a good point too. I said that Google gives a boost to AMP pages. Google gives a boost to pages that load fast. And AMP pages load really fast.
But one thing I found with AMP is if you do have something complex, a good plugin will just throw it out.
Oh, great.
So you end up with, it automatically simplifies.
What sort of plugins have you used?
Well, let's see. Well, one thing that's actually a negative right now, but it's not that I have to fix, is a button for supporting and entering some money.
Oh, yeah.
But it's okay to lose that, you know, as long as the page looks good and people aren't bothered by the, by it.
Yep, that's a great point. AMP is a little bit harder to turn off, whereas Facebook Instant Articles, you can go in and click a box, 2 boxes, I think, and it's off. There's a little bit more to do to turn off Google AMP, which Marty can talk about in a second. And there are some ad format specifications as well, like we talked about with Facebook Instant Articles. And ampproject.org is where you can find all that stuff. There are great lists at the website, ampproject.org, about all the different CMSs that integrate. Many CMSs have built integrations. So if you're not on WordPress, I bet your CMS is probably on that list. And another benefit for AMP is it does integrate with a lot of ad serving platforms as well, a little bit more easily than Facebook does. And again, like back to the other ads point, I mean, with AMP2, you can connect your ads and your analytics as well.
And we've set AMP up for a lot of clients, but we found that this plugin is the easiest one to use. It's called AMP for WordPress. Once you install it on your WordPress site, it has a dashboard that has like all the settings in it. So you can do colors, theme design, analytics insertion. You can add your logo. You can add social links for sharing and things like that. Let's just talk about just the basics of what AMP does. There is a very small link right here that you cannot see, but it's just a regular link that's on your site. So centerforcooperative.org/Lion Conference. That will serve up your regular everyday website page. When the AMP plugin is activated, all it does is it adds a AMP at the back end of your URL. When the Google robot crawls your site, it sees the AMP pages and it serves the AMP pages in search. This is actually great because when we try to do Insta articles, it's really tough to preview those articles unless you're actually on the mobile app yourself. With AMP, all you have to do is just add AMP to the back end of your link, and you can see exactly how your story appears on AMP. There is a way that we can serve ads with the plugin. You can put it above the featured image, you can put it below the featured image, you can put it in the footer. Most publishers like to do in-content ads. So after the first paragraph, after the third paragraph. If you guys want to do that, it's an additional plugin. It's like $30. It's called Advanced Ads for AMP. And it will allow you to do Google ads, any type of iframe ad, which is like the Broad Street ad that we were talking about before. Again, it's really easy to set up. It's just a paid plugin that we would have to. It's like $30. Anybody can buy it. It's called Advanced AMP Ads.
So can you insert ads without that plugin?
Yeah. So
yeah, you just can't do that.
Right. So it's like with the regular standard plugin, you can absolutely insert ads. It'll just be like it'll give you an option like above the header, above the featured image, and then in the footer. It won't really allow you to do content ads and stuff. So, any questions? Yeah.
Just technically compared to Facebook's IA, talk about Facebook's IA kind of cleaning up the HTML and making it a lighter load. This translation into a .amp file is doing the same thing and get Google's caching and inserting it the same way.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just pretty much taking like the main content block of your story, stripping everything else away, and just serving it as quickly as possible. Most startup websites are on like economy hosting plans, big shared hosting plan. There's like 1,000 other sites on the hosting plan. Once these stories get over to the Google servers, they're serving them up really, really quick, which again lends to page speed, which will help search results. And I don't know if Google will admit it or not, but they would love to serve up AMP pages first opposed to non-AMP pages.
Because they
and
load
stuff.
fast.
Yeah.
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 They load
I didn't generally have to hear about the user experience.
We stand up, right?
I'm sorry.
Easier for you.
In addition to that WordPress plugin you mentioned, there's the official one from WordPress.com from Automatic. We've been working closely with them to revamp that and get it in a better place. The current version is 0.7, and it isn't perfect. There's a major update and overhaul coming to it, version 1.0, and that should release really in the next few weeks. So maybe by the end of the year, it's probably, and it'll be a much better place where you can do a prepared version, like you said. There's even a native 100% native version. And then general is going to have just a better look and feel and not going to break as many things that the other ones have done. In addition, I think Google is also working on releasing a Google Toolkit plugin, which will more easily integrate some of the Google Suite products like analytics, some of the ads functionality. I think that's looking at December or maybe the beginning of next year, and that'll be like a free plugin.
Oh, I think a question for him, like when we were serving up the instant articles like Google Analytics, we could look at like the referral as source, and instant articles would come up like as its own source referral. Is there something for Google AMP that would allow publishers to just see their AMP traffic?
Within WordPress, I'm not certain. I know there are ways to do that. I don't know specifically.
There's a very simple way in Google Analytics. You just do a search for AMP.
An AMP, okay.
Yeah, it depends totally on the way you live in your sites and things. Because you can have the URL and not have the AMP, for instance, running the native version.
Limited to 3 ad positions? To 3 ad positions?
With
number of ad positions.
Oh, there's none. There's no limitation.
Yeah, there's no limitation.
It's the same as like a standard.
And so I serve up 150 ads, it's okay?
Well, it's the same as a standard page. I mean, AMP,
My standard page is 150 ads.
AMP will not limit. AMP has no hard limit on itself. It's the ad networks that have their policies. So Google. Ad
Well, we do Broad Street, so.
So it would be whatever Broad Street's policy.
150. And so it'd be my own sizes then, because I noticed instant articles you got to do 300 by 250.
Yeah. With banner ads, you just want to be careful on mobile because it's a small screen, so the banner ads are really, really thin. So yes, it would serve up any ad size.
That's what we got now.
But yeah, be really, really thin. Yes.
For those of us that are new to this, what's the biggest benefit? What's the biggest advantage to using Google that I might not be seeing when I'm just doing?
Your pages will load really fast, and that means
which helps placement and search.
Yeah, that means that they'll search higher, and that could be a benefit for traffic. So a better user experience and possibly a traffic boost.
Is there a disadvantage? Google AMP.
I mean, with AMP, I don't know if anyone else in the room who's on AMP wants to answer. I mean, my personal opinion is I don't really see a downside to AMP currently. I mean, the publishers that we've been testing with haven't seen downsides unless they have some sort of site that doesn't play well with AMP, or that they've got a ton of important content in the header or the footer of their page. For most news publishers that we've worked with, I can only speak to I haven't seen a downside. I don't know if that, yeah.
I think it's been a net increase in traffic and then the advertising revenue from my site because the pages do load fast, they seem to show up high and get Google rank. So I think it's a net plus. Since I've had AMP, I first used it, not very good plugin, and then I switched to the one you recommended a couple months ago, and it's gotten even better since then.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, because we serve 150 ads and we are a fixed width site, and have to be because we serve 150 ads, Google is de-indexing us.
Yeah, because you looked at well, yeah, because it probably gets crawled as spam, right?
I don't know. I was talking to Ned about it, and he said that there might be an issue with ads ad ratio to the text ratio.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We could definitely ask him, but it's like Google wants to see an SSL certificate, wants to see your site to be mobile friendly, and wants it to load fast.
We got SSL, but it says we're not mobile friendly. So.
Yeah. All right, we're just about out of time, so I'm going to run through Apple News. Apple News, just a few key points to know. So Apple News puts your stories inside the Apple News app. So only for those of us who have iOS devices, inside the News app that is preloaded on your phone when you buy it. That's where we're talking about this content is. You should know Apple does some curation within the News app. Most large news organizations, most of the national news organizations, large ones are on Apple News. Apple has been fairly responsive to news organizations that are on Apple News in terms of the fact they've been hiring a full team and they work directly with developers when you're building pages in Apple News format, which we can talk about in a moment. You can integrate your ads, including now recently Google Ads Manager you can integrate. And if you've ever been in there, users can follow a publication, they can save a story, sort of like Facebook in that way where you can like a page and save a story. It's similar. Some other points to know, because it's only on iOS devices, it's a very closed ecosystem. And Apple maintains the most control out of Facebook or Google we've talked about, Facebook or AMP rather. Apple really has a lot of control over Apple News. So you're just something to know. The analytics are only available through Apple. You cannot integrate outside analytics. You have to go into Apple to access your traffic. And there's really no way to capture users easily. There's not like a CTA you can input, but you can link out. And Apple News pages do retain links. And if someone taps on a link in Apple News, it will open in a relevant tab. And then some more info on setting this up is at apple.com/newspublisher. So I'll have Marty walk through real quickly how to do this, and I want Howard to talk for a moment before we break up, because I know we're over time.
If you had to rank all three,
Yep.
what would you rank them?
AMP, Facebook, Apple, probably. Although we're starting to see more traffic for some publishers from Apple News. It's fairly easy to set up, but it's still the same sort of ad considerations. But I would continue to tell people, if you're going to do any of them, do AMP first, and then test with the other two. Facebook, you might want to test if emails something you really want. Apple News, you might want to test for other reasons.
Yeah, I'm just going to be real quick because we want Howard to talk here. But it's a singular plugin. It's called Publish to Apple News, and what it does is it just connects with your iCloud account. So you would need to decide if you want to keep your personal iCloud account or set up a new iCloud account for your publication. The iCloud account is what creates all the verification for API to link the site to Apple News.
So Stephanie just asked me to talk about kind of my personal experience with Apple News. When they first announced it, I went to my iCloud account and signed up and sent them my RSS feed, and I had to upload a header to their specifications, and as soon as Apple News launched, we were in there. It was that easy. As far as, now I think there is, we talked about this earlier, there's a REST API, which I have not played around with at all, but I imagine that's if you want to do analytics and ads, but I don't know those details. But if you want to be more sophisticated about it, you probably have to do the REST API. There are WordPress and Drupal Pro plugins, but I don't know anything about those. So as far as benefits, when Apple announced this, I just thought, well, I should probably be there. My competition's probably going to be there. I've become a big Apple News user myself on my iPad primarily. It's the first place I go every morning, and I really enjoy it for the way it serves up news to me. And the customization is pretty good, not perfect, but pretty good. You know, I never click on NFL stories, and it still gives me NFL stories under sports. I'm like, I don't want that. But otherwise, it's pretty good. As far as for a local publisher, though, we talked about this earlier. You know, Apple is a small slice of the universe, and on the Apple News app, local is a small source of it. They do not seem to emphasize local at all, except for maybe larger metropolitans. I do get a lot of Union Tribune stuff because I started reading Padre stories, and so that so I get a lot. And now I'm getting more general news and some of these categories.
News, you can read my stuff.
Yeah, well, I have to click on one of your stories sometime, and then. So one of the things I noticed with mine, when Stephanie asked me to be on this panel, I thought, gee, I haven't seen one of my own headlines in a while. If you're not clicking on your own headlines, you're not going to see them, and the same things are happening so with your readers. And so I don't think that we talked about this, I can't find where I have access to any stats.
Yeah, we need to figure that out.
So I don't know how much readership I'm getting off that, but I can't believe it's a lot. So I don't think it's not costing me anything. I'm not seeing any benefit to it. I like that I'm there in case it ever matters that I'm there.
One thing that Apple has said where it could matter, this is, how often is this going to happen, is, like I mentioned, they do curation and they've been hiring that team. If there's a major tragedy in your area, something that they've said is they're going to go first to look to see who's on Apple News and boost those stories, especially from local to the front. Could that drive traffic for you? Possibly. How often does a big tragedy happen in your coverage area? Probably not that often. That is a consideration because there are humans there doing curation.
That'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
We get, when there's, I check Google News anytime we have a big national story in our area, which happens 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah.
We just had our congressman indicted, so, which is national news. And
Yeah.
Which one?
Which one? Chris Collins. So so when that story broke, we got out there pretty quick on it, and we're showing up in Google News. But as soon as it was everywhere, we just disappeared.
You disappeared.
And even though we had like longer stories and more in depth. So.
Yeah. Any other questions that we can answer? We're going to be here. Any last things, Sarah?
Is there any call to action enabled on the Google link?
No, but if you have something inserted into your articles, like a easy link, text link, that'll work.
Yeah, one thing I mentioned, I do intend to get some subscription stuff at some point. We've already started, we've got subscription on our mobile app. And that's another consideration for Apple News is they will support it. And that's the one main thing that interests me in Facebook is just when I get ready to sell subscriptions.
Great question, yeah. So I was at Facebook on Wednesday for an update about part of this, and they are going to be rolling out soon a bunch more subscription modules for IA so that you can gate it on the app. So if you do have a paywall or a subscription model, they're improving what they offer, which could push more publishers to start testing with IA because it's supposed to be a seamless system. And it goes back into, it kicks the people to your subscription service. So hopefully you have an easy subscription service that's not 20 steps, too, but more coming on that.
Yeah.
So in a year from now, this could be different.
And Washington Post, for example, every time I look at their stories, I get a solicitation to subscribe.
Yeah.
And so I think that's...
Because they've been one of the main testers of it. Yep. Cool. All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.